All right. So I guess right there is good. So I'm Jeff.
Hey Jeff, I'm Tom.
Tom? Good to meet you.
Good to meet you
Yeah.
too.
So I don't need this either. Yeah. What do you think happens? Like, what's your initial reaction? You don't.
So I don't. Obviously, nobody knows for sure, right?
Yeah.
Nobody can say definitively what happens when you die.
That's what makes it so interesting.
Right. So what I like to think that happens is, I believe in heaven, and I believe that there's a power of creation that can take me back into its bosom, and I can be what it wants me to be.
Okay.
And I think at that point, I don't think there's going to be the human emotion, that jealousy and greed and lust and hunger and
all the things of this world,
all the
right?
things
Yeah.
that it's going to be kind of incomprehensible.
Yeah.
Rather I'm reincarnated as a flower, or I'm just part of the ethos in God's heaven, or if maybe I'm a being. I don't know, a being of light or an angel or whatever. Really isn't up to me. But I will say that I do believe that there's something beyond what we can
beyond the physical.
Beyond the physical.
And that there's a spiritual dimension to everything. Yeah.
Sure. So I mean, I would say I've seen unexplainable things, and I know many people that have seen unexplainable things.
Yeah.
So
something like maybe ghosts or spiritual encounters of some sort.
Yeah, like a dark, shadowy figure. Total darkness and pure fear, and
evil, or not necessarily.
I would describe it as evil. You get this total fear sensation.
Yeah.
I've seen it 3 times, and I've known people in my life who have seen it. So, either we're all mass hallucinating the same type of thing, or there's something beyond what we can comprehend.
Yeah.
So
it's funny because the second to the last video that's on my channel was a guy who's kind of like a ghostbuster. Like, he goes places with electronic equipment and tries to find ghosts.
Right.
But this thing that you have encountered, would you say that you were seeking it, or it just kind of appeared?
I was sleeping, and you can say that there was sleep paralysis, the type of feeling you get with sleep paralysis.
Yeah.
But you sense something in the room.
Like you can't move?
Like you can't move, but eventually I'm able to turn my head and see it out of the corner of my eye, and the first time I saw it, I was certain that somebody was in my house, and then the second time I saw it, of course, you search the whole house and there's no one there, there's nothing there, and you think, what's going on, By the third time I saw it in my life, I knew exactly what it was.
Yeah.
So it wasn't,
were these times close together, or?
Not, they were in the same year.
Oh, okay.
In the same year.
Did you have any, lose any loved ones or anything?
I really can't remember what was going on in my life per se. I can't remember if it was a consequence of anything. I don't think it was a consequence of anything.
Okay.
It was just something that was going on. But at one point I rebuked it, and I've never had no problems since.
Okay.
But
you stood up to it. Right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. By the third time, I knew what I was dealing with.
Okay.
Just from my own studies and my own religious background. But I think
there's a verse in the Bible says, "Resist the devil and he will flee from you."
Yeah. Right. So there are.
Excuse me, guys. Excuse me. So, did you grow up with any kind of a religious upbringing, or? Like church or something?
Catholic church, and then later I went to Lutheran church, and but I've always studied the Bible all my life. I've read the Bible, many times.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, So I've lost my faith and got it back again, and I understand when you read the Bible, there's more than just the surface information. goes well beyond that.
Yeah.
I mean, there are spiritual references that are made, and there are physical references that are made, and there are, it's not only something that you learn lessons from, but there's a lot more to the Bible than people can understand.
Well, the people that criticize the Bible want to take it at a surface level, and of course they bring out, some of the miracles and things that it refers to, and say, that's not possible. But
they can criticize all they want, but no book has had an effect quite like this one.
No,
this is in our psyche.
Yeah.
So there's something in it. There's something there for it. I mean, I don't think I'd get to heaven and because I couldn't understand something or something wasn't available to me.
Yeah.
I think we do the best we can with what we got.
Yeah.
What we describe today might not be describable 2,000 years from now.
Yeah, true.
And what we're using, what is hidden today might have been obvious 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
And I think in the book of Revelations, it's not a book of like a puzzle. Like, I think you're going to know more about the book of Revelation when you're in it.
Yes.
So you don't try to figure it out. It's something.
Yeah.
It's more of a map.
Yeah.
So when you're in the final days in Armageddon, you can.
And there's a lot of prophecies like that in the Old Testament that the people of Israel missed because they couldn't predict what was going to happen, because there's a lot of different ways to interpret it. But once it did happen, you look back and you say, that's how it was going to work out,
Well, if you think about the book of Esther, right? If you look at that and you read it, you think, well, what does that have anything to do with anything?
Yeah.
But if you look around what we're going through right now, I can make references to the book of Esther all day long.
Yeah.
We're
made for such a time as this.
Yes, we are in a situation where we're creating alliances, and there is, in my opinion, a group of people that have conspired against us, and in the final hour, they might be strung up on their own petard, if you will. So, history repeats itself, and some of these kingdoms existed. We hear stories about God, having his disembodied hand right on the wall, and
writings on the wall. Yeah.
And then when the language is interpreted, your kingdom is found wanting.
Yeah.
Been measured and found wanting.
Yeah.
You read these stories and you start to understand. There's a lot that you can understand about our time just by understanding those times.
Yeah, and human nature really hasn't changed. So we can expect the same kinds of things to happen, even though like technology changes. Actually, technology is kind of accelerating things.
Sure. And I'm sure there was a time that we were more advanced than we probably know. You look at the pyramids all around the world, and you start to understand that there was a civilization here that was highly advanced.
That we can't figure out how they did what they did.
Yeah, absolutely. Luxor is like, you can't get a couple contractors together to build Luxor.
What's Luxor? I should know that.
Well, so that's...
I'm actually a high school history teacher, so I should know this.
So Luxor is they have perfect sculptures. They have a pharaoh's sculpture, and it's so symmetrical that you can actually take an image and fold it, and it's exact.
Huh.
You know what I mean? It's in Luxor.
So it's from Egypt?
Egypt.
Oh, okay.
They got the pharaoh's head, and it's sculpted so perfectly that, and this is large. This is massive monument, and you can fold it, and it's perfect.
Wow.
Symmetrically perfect.
Huh.
It's impossible.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Sculpting in rock.
Right. You don't do that with chisels and hammers. You can't. It's impossible. How did they get that stone to cut perfectly? Not almost perfect. Perfect fold.
Yeah.
They overlap perfectly.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
So, what do you think? So, you mentioned that you believe like a creator, and I'm assuming, would you mean the God of the Bible or the Creator God?
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
I mean, but you got to be careful when you say the God of the Bible, because which one are we talking about? We're talking about Yahweh. We're talking about, the God Elohim. You're talking about. You go back into the Old Testament, and you talk about Moses meeting with Jethro, and their God was a Vulcan God. I mean, where did he get these commandments?
One of the things I think that we have to understand is, for God, so like you got Genesis, right? And we're starting to find out things already, like in the beginning God created. Okay, well, I already know that God is the creator and that God always existed.
In the beginning,
he was
Elohim
there in
created. Right.
And so God in one paragraph or one chapter can't reveal all there is to know about God. And so the Bible is I've come to think of it as an unfolding of what has always been there. So it's because God doesn't change. He can't be improved. He's perfect in every way. So there's no beginning, no end, no improvement, because improvement implies it wasn't perfect to begin with.
Well, we got to look at this very humbly, because when I say I studied the Bible, you're talking since 9 to 48, right? 9 years old to 48. So when God says, "Come, let us go and make man in our image," he's talking about the Elohim, the counsel of God. Okay, now who are they? And how are they? How are we being made in His image, in their image?
Yeah.
So we got to be very humble when we talk about, when we're talking about the God of Israel. Okay, we're talking about a covenant between a people. He says, "I will be your God." Implying that, there were all the gods that
there's definitely
So you want to talk about the God?
They had
Baal,
like regional
El or Yahweh or Jah, or you want to call him Yeshua or Jesus, or I mean, what it really comes down to, and I will say this, and anyone that wants to believe in something, you take a story like the boy who cried wolf. Now we can get into debate. Did this story really happen? Was there really a boy who cried wolf?
Yeah.
Okay, and was he a white boy? Was he a black boy? Maybe he wasn't a boy at all. Maybe he was a girl.
Yeah.
Maybe a girl with blonde hair and blue eyes, or maybe Asian, or maybe it was a tall guy. Maybe it was a being of light. You see, we've lost the esoteric thought of the story, which is you go around telling a bunch of lies, and pretty soon nobody's going to believe you.
There's truth there,
right?
Regardless of the details.
Right, and so I'm sure that throughout some period of time there was a boy who cried wolf, or a boy who cried dragon, or whatever, or there's going to be somebody in time that fits that bill, that fits that story, and maybe even there's somebody in time that realizes the importance of living that story, that knows that story so well that from his decision, from his birth, from his divine thought, maybe touched by the divine, decides that I'm going to live this story.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm sure it's happened all over the world, many times over.
Yeah. Well, I think, and we it's a truth that we learn by experience. If you keep lying about something, it's going to come back to bite you,
Sure. So if we get caught up, so someday there's going to come a time when they're going to say, we have proof beyond the shadow of the doubt that Jesus did not exist. It's coming. Be prepared, Christians.
Yeah.
It's coming.
Yeah.
But you got to understand that Jesus, Yeshua, there is more than just a living man. There is the story. So when somebody says, I got proof beyond the shadow of the doubt that he doesn't exist, I can say, it doesn't matter to me, because in my head, between these two thieves is where he was crucified, in the hill of the skull.
So you think of it more as like myths,
Well,
but not in a bad sense.
Well,
like
I don't
myths
know.
that
We don't know.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So nobody knows. I mean, I can't say beyond the shadow of the doubt that I was there.
Right.
And people can say, no, we have evidence. There was recordings, and people can argue, no, this is nonsense that never existed.
Depends on which experts you want to listen to.
But I know
The
that
truth
for
of the
me,
story, I think, is what I'm hearing you
well,
say.
right. For me, my God can make me perfect.
Yeah.
Right.
So what do you think is the truth of the story of Jesus and the cross? And he died on the cross. Why is that central to Christianity? Because it really is. There's verses in the Bible that say, like if this didn't happen.
Okay, so
Paul wrote,
we got to understand.
If Jesus didn't rise from the dead, then our faith is worthless.
Well, you got to understand how it came about. So you have the Council of Nicene, you have the Roman Empire, you have all this pagan worship, you have Saturnalis, you have everything coming together, and they have to package up a religion that's going to be used under one tent for this age. And so when you think about the Son dying on the cross, you can also put that into the pagan worship, the sun going down to the lowest point on the December 22nd, and then rising again on the 25th, which is the winter equinox, the cross. This is the cross, or in the Jewish faith, you're going to talk about the Passover. It's the crossing point. So why is it important that he dies on the cross? I mean, we can get into 1,000 different ideologies of why it's important, but I think the most missed in the Bible story in the Bible is when John the Baptist says there's going to be one that comes after me. He's going to baptize you with fire and the Holy Spirit. One whose sandals I'm not worthy of carrying. Right.
Yeah.
So when Jesus came to him and John said, "It is I that should be baptized by you," what does Jesus say to him?
Do this to fulfill the...
It is important that we
prophecy.
fulfill all prophecy.
Yeah.
Right? So this Jesus man knew that he was to fulfill all prophecy.
Yeah.
He knew the story. He knew the ancient stories of the past and the prophecies.
And how he fit into them.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why the story of the death and the resurrection is told so many times. 56 times, I believe, throughout time. I'll tell you why it's been told that many times.
Oh, as far as like other religions?
Other
and things
religions.
like that? Okay.
Because there's a message that has to get through. You don't tell a story over and over if it's false.
Right.
You tell it if it's true, if it holds truth, if it holds power. And that power is understanding that in the simplest form is that your Creator loved you and wants you to live a good life, despite all the bad people and all that they do. The spiritual plateaus that we're going to, like let's say the age of Aquarius, is going to require us to change here and here. It's going to require us to change. Rather you're born a Muslim or a Buddhist or a Christian or you're just an intellect. You're going to have to change into this new age of Aquarius because the age of Aquarius is the age of enlightenment.
Right.
So what do we also know about what Jesus told us about the age of Aquarius, right? He says in Luke, I think it's Luke 14. You can check. I don't have my verses in front of me, but he says they ask him, "Where are we going to hold the next Passover?" Right? And they're asking him the whole time. They're with Jesus. When is God going to return? Yeah. And Jesus never really answers them. He gives them all kinds of roundabouts. He never answers. Yeah. But then they ask him, where are we going to hold the next Passover? And he gives them a very important answer. He says, go into the village, there be a man bearing water, follow him into the upper room, there all things are going to be prepared. Right?
Yeah.
So here's the important thing, right? So Aquarius is the man bearing water. He gave them the answer to the question they always wanted, approaching the end of his life, but they didn't know they had the answer. They didn't know they were not in the age of Aquarius.
Okay.
So when does God return? Well, I would estimate, although no one can really say, because so when does God return? It's going to have to be in the age of Aquarius, and it's going to have to be by way of spiritual revival. This is it. This is the prediction that he gave that, in my opinion, is we can either keep going the way we are, which is not looking too promising. You got people out there ready to commit genocide.
Yeah.
Or we can, remember the world's population can fit inside of Texas. Okay? There's plenty of room. And by the measurements of the world, it's much bigger than they're letting on. Much bigger. Okay, there's room. 8 billion people is a drop in the well. Okay, so to survive in this age, we're gonna have to come to a spiritual awakening. We're gonna have to come to a spiritual growth and renaissance or revival, if you will.
As far as so my understanding of Christ's return, I think that's what you're talking about, is when God returns, Christ returns, or no? That's what Revelations is referring to.
I don't know if he's going to come in a figure, but I think Christ
is that it could happen.
God can
it could happen tomorrow. It could happen in the distant future. We hope for the best and prepare for the worst, right?
Well, it can happen right now for you, right now, here and now.
I could die today and be with God.
You can have a revival right now.
Yeah. So, do you, as far as when it says Jesus died for our sins, right? How do you relate to that? Do you feel like his death has a connection to your relationship with God?
I think there's a lot of metaphor in that. I think there's a lot of metaphor. So let's say, and remember, nobody knows everything about this. Anyone who says they know, they're lying.
Yeah.
They're lying.
Well, we can say what we read in the Bible.
And you've read it in the Bible, and you can repeat it.
Yeah.
But to know it.
But as far as and knowing that we've got the exact right
amount of
interpretation.
hubris is not only a lie.
Yeah.
It's dangerous.
Yeah.
Because what does God say? Thou shalt make no graven image unto me.
Yeah.
And as soon as I conjure up an image of God, what have I done?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I think that's a big mistake a lot of people are making.
Right.
They come up with their ideas about God.
Right.
They form him after their own image, what they're most comfortable with.
Right.
Rather than letting God reveal himself as he is,
Well, what makes more sense? If there is a heaven, what makes more sense? I'm going to go to heaven by my own earnings, and I'm going to make. And so now, I'm as a human being, I can reach some place of Zen where I have no jealousy, no greed, no lust, no hunger. Right. I get no diarrhea. I can mind control myself out of diarrhea, right?
Yeah.
Or God can render me perfect. Which one? Which one is more likely?
Right. Well, the first one isn't happening.
Right. A perfect being can make a perfect move.
Yeah.
It is a sacrifice for our unperfect selves in a place called heaven. Right? Or the man that we know that can't even control his own bowels.
Right.
Control when he gets sick or when he dies.
Yeah.
Is going to somehow earn his way into a place called heaven.
Right. So you have a good sense that we can't earn our way there.
Right.
It's an act of God, would you say?
Oh, what is God? Like I said,
right.
I'm
I guess
very
what
careful about.
So, if do you still go to the Lutheran church, or I grew up Lutheran myself? So
No, I
I'm
left the
familiar
church
with it. Oh, okay.
a while back because I believe we
Yeah.
are in the preparation stage of Aquarius, and
Yeah.
there's many reasons why because these churches, number one, they're making graven images.
Yeah.
Number two, they've gone, their backbone has gone completely out.
A lot of them have. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Number three, they don't really care anything about but their church, and it's utter lunacy everywhere you go. And everyone can talk a good story, but honestly, we've all been to churches. We all know the building funds, and they really bit they're eating out of their own rear ends at this point. I mean, and God love them.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a nice effort, but it's you know, and I'm all for fellowship and love and harmony, but it's just human beings. They can't even agree on this. You paint a wall blue and they can't even agree on the same paint color. It's just got bad. So you know,
I'm gonna let you go, but I do.
Yeah.
So in my conversations, I pretty much run into a lot of. Almost everybody I run into believes that if there's a heaven, that they're somehow good enough to go there. Even a lot of church people, which is what you're talking about, like they've kind of lost their way. What you're saying though is we could never be good enough. We can't, like even if we could be perfect, which we can't,
right?
We're still guilty of the things we've already knowingly done wrong. See what I'm saying? God's justice. The Bible talks about God is the one who is just and the one who is justified in Romans. What that means is he is the just judge who will make sure there's a consequence for sin. So he loves justice, and justice, won't be denied. God is perfect in every way. He will be the perfectly just judge too. But he's the one who justifies, which means Christ came and he provided the sacrifice. He took the punishment that we deserve. And so in God's justice and his love, they're both satisfied at the cross, because God is the one who saves us. He's the one who gave his son to die for us.
Or at the sacrifice, if you prefer.
The atonement or the sacrifice,
right.
So the Bible talks, whole New Testament is built around
or the new covenant, if you will.
Yeah, the New Testament, yeah.
Right. And we are saved by grace and grace alone, by God's grace.
Yeah.
No human being can enter the
earn
halls
it or
of the
deserve
divine.
it. We can just not even accept it,
but
receive it as a gift.
I will say this. Us being human in this moment in time is also a gift. Everybody's trying to find their way to a spiritual state, when in fact, we are spirits that have found our way into a physical state, and we're wasting a lot of time trying to get back to that spiritual state when we need to have a bowl of ice cream and, learn to love and feel and
enjoy the life.
Because this is finite.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone that's come back.
No.
No. So,
we have an infinite future, eternity ahead of us, but this earth is finite in that we will never experience this, battle between good and evil that we find ourselves in the midst of.
Right.
And this is for me, it's an opportunity. I'm saved, I'm going to heaven, not because of anything I've done, but because God saved me through Christ. How can I show God gratitude? How can I live for him? I will never have the opportunity again to
do this right here and now.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
And
so I dig why you're doing this. You're going around and you're talking to people. And if they hear God's voice, stay with them. And if they don't,
I still have good conversations and learn from them, and hope that God spoke through it somehow. And
sometimes you leave quickly and shake the dust off as you go.
That is true. Yeah, or much more quickly than others.
No, because there's bad places in the world.
5 minutes.
Well, there's bad places in the world.
Yeah.
This country that we're living in is one of the most beautiful places in the world. Now, I'm not going to say our founding fathers gave us the documents, we demanded those documents. If they wouldn't have gave us those documents, we just got done kicking British ass all over town. You think we could have walked in there and kicked their asses? We'd have tarred and feathered them.
Yeah.
They gave us what we earned.
Yeah.
Which was our birthright, which God gave us.
Yeah.
And in this country, I mean,
it's a unique.
It's I mean, if
I
were
government,
talking, if I were talking like this somewhere else,
yeah, and
get my head cut off.
Yeah,
I get thrown into prison.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's up to us, Americans, that we're either going to go into a renaissance of freedom and liberty and enlightenment, or we're going back into another 1,000 years of darkness.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have to pick. It's going to start here in America.
Well, and I think it's getting more polarized to the point where we do have to take sides, and we do have to stand up for what we believe in. And for a long time, the church has been getting weaker and full of
what
really,
are they doing?
Really false converts. Because,
what are they doing?
Because it was the thing to do was to go to church, you know.
I mean, look at this new pope here.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the closest thing to wickedness I've seen come out of the Vatican. I mean, I dare to say it. I mean, Holy Father?
Right.
I mean, really?
Yeah.
Call no man Father but your Father who is in heaven. This man is an intermediate. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Come on. Nobody believes this anymore.
Right.
Nobody should.
Right. And
nobody should be handing over power to these people.
Right.
They have all this money and could do.
I think people are.
But
there's access to information, and people are waking up to things like that.
And I should,
if they're willing to.
And I should say, this is happening all over. This Renaissance is happening in France. It's happening in Great Britain. It's happening in Australia. It's happening in Russia. It's happening all over right now, simultaneously.
Yeah.
Billions of people are coming to this realization that there is an evil that needs to go.
Yeah.
It's got to go.
Yeah.
And it's
just
now
that
or
it
never.
takes so many forms. It's not just one evil. It's from many different directions. You know. I think, for example, 9/11.
Ultimately, we'll be on the grounds of Armageddon.
Yeah, I mean we have increasing secularization, right, of society, but then at the same time, you've got Islam spreading, and people associating Christians with Islam in the fact that we're religious.
Well, Islam,
and so religious extremism of any sort is being frowned upon by the secularists.
Right.
See what I'm saying?
Well, what Islam has to understand is Islam in Christianity and Judaism.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this revival is happening in all religions.
Mm-hmm.
All religions. So we're getting a really bad. I mean, some bad people are saying bad things to Christians about the state of Islam, and vice versa. And the cat's out of the bag. We're not believing it no more. When I sit down with my Islamic brother and break bread with him, there's nothing wrong with that. And we're starting to wake up to this.
Well, what I'm hearing is that a lot of Muslims are coming to Christ because of dreams. You know, even in countries where they can't really find out much about Christianity, they're having dreams and they're seeing Christ, and so there's a lot of conversions happening.
But and I don't know, maybe I'm getting out in the woods, but you call it an apple, and I call it a quince.
Mm.
But who are we?
As far as all the different religions are.
Right. But who are we to say what God is?
Yeah.
You know, in the world of in the Islamic religion, they don't have a face on Muhammad, right? They don't have any face on it, which is what God told us. There, make no graven image. So we're not. Believe me, we're not as far off as people like to play us.
Right.
And they are playing us.
Yeah.
So we have to understand that this revival is happening not only in every country but in all religions. And I do believe that God can make you perfect if He so chooses in heaven. But having received grace is not carte blanche to go out there and be
A jerk about it.
right.
Yeah.
So I like to swear, so I'm trying to keep it clean on you. You're gonna have to.
No worries. I talk to a lot of people from a lot of different backgrounds. So.
But it's a revival, and we have to start to ascend, because we have to prepare the upper room in this moment.
I'll leave you with this because I do have to get going, but one of the things that the trends I've noticed as I talk to different people, so the idea that all the different religions are essentially the same, they are the same in that they all teach that we have a sin problem. In other words, we know right from wrong and we break it. And so then the problem is, how can we have a relationship with our Creator, or how can we justify our existence? Like, for even atheists believe this. They want to be good. They want to be good without God, right?
Well, religion and philosophy are different. So when we say religions are essentially the same, they're not.
Right.
So we have to ascend to a philosophy that is true.
But let me tell you, the one thing that I believe is different about Christianity, and that is, it's the only religion. I mean, I know you talked about like different saviors,
right?
Death and resurrection. If that's true, I mean, God has done other things like that provide a foreshadow of what's to come, so other people of other societies might have these stories in their mythology. But Christianity really is, of all the major religions, it's the only one where God saves us, where He doesn't require us to save ourselves by our good behavior or by
there are many native religions, beliefs, philosophies that God has done the same, like the white buffalo calf maiden.
Yeah, I guess I would be talking about one that has actual historical roots, where like
Native
Paul
Americans had 10,000 years on this continent. I mean, their religion is essentially the same as our philosophy.
Yeah, I mean, there's no written record of that, so
it was oral.
Right. So we have to kind of go with what we've heard in the last 100 years or so. So that's what I would say, is that Jesus said, "I'm the way, the truth, and life. No one comes to the Father but through me." So that doesn't mean I think it's exclusive, because He died for everybody, right? And everyone can put their faith in Him. And so I encourage that, and I encourage people to go out and tell them about Christ.
Absolutely. But I'm not going to join the mega church.
No.
No, hell no. I mean,
no, I can't picture you in one.
No, I mean, I would tear these people asunder in their mind. They would. I mean, it's time to wake up.
Yeah.
It's time to grow up.
Yeah.
If we can't grow up, our enemy is going to wipe us off the planet.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm not being hyperbolic about this.
No, I mean,
they're going to wipe us off the planet, and it is time to come out of the church and grow up.
Yeah.
All of us.
Yeah.
Buddhist, Muslim, Christian. The truth is the truth.
Yeah.
The many names of God. And how do we do that? How do we do that? Well, I know how we don't do that. We don't come under one tent and have one guy saying, drink my Kool-Aid. Right?
Yeah.
It has to be principled ideas. Rather they're oral or written, but it has to be the truth. And I will say that in my belief as a Christian, I believe that my understanding of the Savior, the Christ, I do believe it's true. But I got no right to go kill somebody because they don't believe it. And I'll tell you what, if they come to kill me, I have no problem killing them.
Yeah, so, I mean, there's.
So we're at a stalemate.
Yeah, justifiable defensive measures we could take, but Jesus said we need to be ready to give up our lives for our neighbors, for others. Love others as I've loved you. He didn't just say love others as yourselves. He said love your neighbor as I have loved you, which He gave His life up for us.
Well, we can't get that confused, though.
Yeah, I don't think it would be wise to go and look for a way to die for someone.
Tom's sacrifice ain't going to save us.
Right, that's true.
Tom lying dead in a ditch because he was a pacifist
Right.
doesn't feed his family.
No.
And
Yeah.
Jesus and God know that.
Yeah.
There is justification to
Just war.
well, I
idea.
mean, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
and like I said, I mean, I wouldn't advocate it for it, but
I'm
you know,
gonna
sure.
keep going,
Yeah.
but let me
Yeah.
give you my